Hey everybody, welcome to another exciting video from Ken's Training. Today we're going to run a landline. Customer wants a landline run, so it's an Ethernet line that we're going to run. We're going to use Cat LAN 6, like Cat 5 is a very common one, or Cat 5e. This is actually Cat 6, which is the next highest one up. So it's a really good quality cable. I've got my kit here, so this way when we go to do the terminations, I have all my terminations right here. When we were actually, this is in a commercial office building, so I'm going to run it in the suspended ceiling and so forth. I'm going to use this stick right here, so I'll attach the cable to the end of this, and then I'll telescope this out a little bit, and then it'll be easier for me to go down so I don't have to open that many ceiling tiles. So we should be pretty efficient when we actually run it. And then afterwards we'll test it with this cable tester to make sure we have the correct terminations. And then afterwards we'll use a brother labeler. We'll label everything. So that's it for now. Thank you. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to start our line here. There's one line that's already come down. This is in the lunchroom. There's one line that's already here. We're going to add a second line to this and then terminate with a jack right here, so it'll be right next to that one. So we're going to start here, run our line. Now because I'm going to be working in a ceiling and because stuff drops down on me, I always like to wear safety glasses. So I'm just going to throw on a pair of safety glasses so try to protect my eyes a little bit. I'm going to start my run here. I'm going to be traveling that way there. I'll use black electrical tape in order to hold the wire to the end of this. So basically, it's going to be something like this. Just take this, hold this here, and then just use black electrical tape just to simply hold this in place, like so. And then I'll break that, put a little flag at the end so it'll be easy to pick off for myself so I won't have to fight it. And then, once I'm in the ceiling here, I can go ahead and telescope this thing out. I think what I'll do is I'll run it straight down and then turn over at the end. Alright, so we brought our landline down to the office, up to the ceiling to this point right here. We needed to come through the wall over to here in order to bring this landline down. We usually use a tool called the Magnetech, but we don't have it today, so we had to try some other options. So first I tried my red 20-foot electrical snake. We couldn't get through because this wall has insulation in it. So then I've got this other snake, which is a 125-foot electrical snake, and we were able to get it through working as a two-person team. One person feeding from the bottom, and then I picked it from the top, and I was able to pull it through. Then, after we did that, I took the snake and I took the yellow landline that we want to bring down through the wall, and I just taped it off right here. We're going to bring this down right now so that we can bring it out through the wall. Okay, so we came down through the wall and we came out this low voltage connection. Our wire is right here. Now I was looking at everybody else's wire that they've already run here, and what they do is they just basically come into this cabinetry here in this top section, and then what they do, hang on one second, let me see if I can get this lowered up. Okay, as I was saying, once they go in through the top of the cabinet there, they actually come down and land here at this small patch panel right here, and I see that I've got plenty of open ports here. I can probably go into port number 5. So what we're going to do now is then we're going to use a patch cable simply from the patch panel to the switch, which is directly below it right here. So that way, for labeling purposes, it's more professional. It'll just work out better than just terminating this wire with a plug. I'll terminate to the end of the back of the patch panel with the B standard, and then we'll just simply use a patch cable from there to the switch. So right now we're going to open up this patch panel and see what the terminations look like on the back. Okay, so on the patch panel, there's 4 screws that held it in place to the rail. I pulled those off. Now I'm looking in back of the patch panel, and this is what it looks like. And you can see that they've got their wires connected, and I can read the ports. It's ports 1, 2, 3, and 4 are used. 5 and 6 are open. This is the T568B standard for the patch panel, so I will terminate to that standard on each end of the wire, so the wire will be perfect. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use the next port in line, which is port number 5. Because that one's available, and that will be the next switch available right there. So that'll be the one that I use. So what I'll do is I'm just going to take my wire, feed it on down through here, and whatever's slack is left over at the end, I'll just end up coiling that up so that I don't really need it. Alright, now I'm going to go ahead and terminate this. I have a kit for all my terminations. Alright, when you go to terminate into a patch panel, you got to use a punch down. And I've got my 110 punch down right here. So I'll use this tool right here, which is a 110 punch down. This tool right here to do the final termination on this deal. I'm going to have a little bit of trash, so I'm just going to get a, that's alright, I'll just put all my trash here, I'll pick it up at the end. Alright, so this is how you do the termination from the wire to a patch panel. First thing I'm going to do is use my diagonal side cutters, and I am going to cut in on the wire about 50%. Like so. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to open this up reasonably well. About like yay. Then I'm going to trim off my excess that I don't care about. I'm going to trim that off, and then I'm going to trim all this off like this. Now these wires are a little bit too long for me. I don't need them that long, so I'm going to trim them all off right about there. Now, the B standard is actually identified right here in the patch cable where they want blue, orange, green, and then brown. So it tells me exactly what the order is. The only thing that I need to know first is whether to go with the striped wire or a solid wire. And then in order for me to determine that, I can just look at what previous work has already been done, and it's a striped wire first. So it goes striped solid, striped solid, striped solid. There's 4 pairs of wire here, so there's 8 wires in total. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go blue, orange, then green, and then brown. And I'll do 2 wires at a time so I don't get confused. And I'm going to want it so that this terminates right about here. So I'm going to go with the blue first. So these are really tightly wound because this is Cat 6 cable. So you don't want to have it too long. Otherwise, that's why I trimmed it off, because then you're unraveling and it takes too much time. I'm trying to keep the speed down to the minimum possible. So now I've got a solid and a striped blue. Those are the first wires in this patch panel to be punched down. First one's going to be the striped. So I'm going to put the striped one through. Then I'm going to use my 110, and with the 110 it's got a trimming blade. On here I want to trim off the blade that towards the ends, so I have to put the tool in the correct way. Then I'm going to trim it down this way. And while I'm supporting the back here, I'm just using a slight rocking motion, not too hard because this is just plastic, and that should trim out. Sometimes you got to wiggle it, and sometimes you need to punch it down twice in order to get it. There we go. It broke right there. Now that's the striped blue. Now I'm going to go for a solid blue, which is this one right here. Alright, so there's my solid blue trimming tool. Blade is on the correct side, which is on the outside. Gently rocking back and forth. And I'm rocking back and forth gently, not side to side, because if you go side to side you can break these pins. These are just plastic pins. Next is orange. So now I'm going to undo the orange, and I like to do one pair at a time so that way I don't get confused. These wires I can read the colors on pretty good, but some wires the colors are horrible. You can't tell an orange from a brown. So this one here, I'm going to go with the striped, then the solid. So I'll see if I can punch down two simultaneously to save time. So I'm just going to line up two at the same time. Okay, there's my orange, and striped first, and the other one, striped and solid. Punch down tool, trimming tool is in the correct location. Gently push that wire in, rocking back and forth. And there, I didn't even have to punch it down. It's seated on its own and trimmed itself on its own. Both of them that time. I didn't even need to use the punch on that. Next is green. And again, I'm just going to unravel my wire. This is kind of delicate work. These wires are thin. There's a small AWG. I'm not sure exactly. It's 23 AWG is what it is. Alright, next is a striped green, then the solid green. Okay. And trimming tool is in the correct location, and gently push down, side, rocking back and forth, not side to side, and I'll probably trim itself right out there. There it is. Now the solid green, pushing down and supporting that, not to disturb any of the other connections. I'm supporting the whole patch panel myself. There it is, and that'll probably trim right out. There it is. Last two wires are brown, striped and then solid. And of course we're going to test everything so that everything will be fully tested. If there's any break in the wire, if I did anything wrong, that will come out and be revealed during testing. Okay, trimming tools in the correct location, and pushing the wire gently into position, and front to back, and boom, that one is done. And my last termination to this patch panel. Okay, boom, that's completed. I have a little bit of slack here. I can take that, coil that, and I can use a nylon zip tie at the end of this job in order to trim this up. Alright, so I'm going to put that in, and I'm on wire number 5. Thank you. Alright, so here's the wire that we ran, and I'm going to go ahead and terminate it right about here because I want it to land into this box. Now, I just have to try to figure out how this box opens up. It's probably just a snap-in connection, maybe just a flathead screwdriver to open it up. And yes, it is. Okay, now they're utilizing port number 4, and port number 3 was on the left. I'm going to go and the one that I connected to at the patch panel was number 5. So I'm going to redo this so that port 4 lands here and port 5 lands here. So my new jack is going to go right here. So they've got this port here. I just have to, looks like, lift it off. Let's see here. I just have to see how this opens up. There's a tab here that apparently locks it in place. If I just lift that back a little, it looks like it's going to come right off. Almost got it. There it is. Okay, so then I'm just going to take that, move that over, and not do that. And I'm going to move it over so that that'll be port 4. Port 5 will be right here. Let me just see how to snap that in place. There it goes. Okay, now I've got my jacks. Let's see here. I've got a couple of different jacks here. I've got yellow, I've got orange, and I've even got white. On this one here, they're using one that's more like an ivory, so none of them will look perfect, but I think the white one will look the most pleasing here. Alright, so this white one will go in like that. I just want to verify that it will indeed snap in and not be a problem. Just going to take a moment to see how this works. Looks like it will snap right in there, just like that. Alright, so what I'll do is I'll leave that like that and do my terminations. Now on this particular jack, I can see my color code for the B standard up top here. It tells me exactly what wire goes where. Alright. Same thing, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my diagonal side cutters, and I'm going to cut the wire halfway. I'm going to pull that back so I've got a nice good amount of wire sticking out for me to work with. I don't want to have my wires too short. Now that I've got a good amount of wire, I'm going to take this, I'm going to trim that back like so. Then I'm going to trim again because these are too long for me to work with. These Cat 6s are so tightly wound, it takes you a long time to unwind them. I'm going to punch this down, so I'm going to need my 110 punch again. So let me open up my toolkit, let me get my 110 punch down, which is right here, and have that ready to go. Okay, so there's that. Now, I'm going to work in back here. So what they want first is a green solid on this first one. So what I'll do is unravel, excuse me, I'm going to unravel the green first, and I'll start with that one. First wire I'll punch down is a solid green, and then I'll do the striped green. I'll figure out where that goes next, and I'll punch it down. So I'm going to take this, bring this out, put a 90 on that so that it looks good. I've got that set. My trimming tool is going towards the outside, and right there I'm going to gently push, rocking back and forth, not side to side. Oh, actually, hold on a second. That was a mistake. I was reading the A standard. The first wire back is in orange, so I'm going to pull that out. So here's a mistake that I made. This wire, I'm going to consider that wire compromised. So actually, I always give myself plenty of slack just for this reason. I made a mistake. I'm going to start over. I'm going to trim again. I was reading the wrong standard. I was reading the A standard instead of the B standard. So now I'm going to start over again, get myself a nice clean wire, trim all this out, and then go from there. So that's trimmed. I'm going to trim this back a little bit because I don't want to unravel for a long period of time. And now, correctly reading this, it's an orange solid wire in the back. So, the first wire that I'm going to unravel is the orange, not the green. Okay, so we start with the orange, solid. That'll be the first wire that I punch down. I noticed that when I was getting close to my punch down, that's when I noticed I had the wrong one. I was looking at the wrong standard. There's two standards on these jacks. There's an A and a B standard. The patch panel was labeled as B, so I have to maintain the same standard for this to work properly. Okay, so now I'm going to punch that down gently back and forth, not side to side, just like the other one, and that should eventually, there, it trimmed right out. Okay, so now I've got one loose wire, which is an orange stripe. So let me find where the orange stripe goes, and it goes actually right next to the orange solid on this one. And I'll punch that down next. Trim tool, trimming tools towards the outside. This is a 110 punch, pushing down, and boom, we got it. Next, I might as well do this whole left side. So green striped is going to be the next wire. So let me get a green striped out. Unravel the green. And there's my green stripe revealed. That's the next one in line. And boom. That's ready to be punched down. Trim tool is correct. And there we go. And there, that's the green one. Now I've got the green solid I want to punch down. Now I can see that's the third wire back over here. Okay, that's ready to go. Green solid, trimming tool is correct. Gently pushing down, watching the pins, and that one's done. Okay, next is a blue striped, so I'll do blue next. Okay, blue striped is this one. And that's good to go. And there it is. And there's that. Okay, that one's trimmed up. That blue solid goes here in the front, right there. And we'll go ahead and go with that one. Okay, I gotta punch that down again. There it is. Alright, and then I'm visually making sure that all the wires are nicely seated while I am doing this. I want to verify good connections. That last one that I did, the blue one, it trimmed out, but it looks like it's not fully seated. So I'm going to punch that again, and I'm going to give it a snap just to make sure that that is fully seated. Of course, I'm going to test everything anyways. I've got two wires left. They're brown. So let me go ahead and open these browns up and get them down, and then we can get to testing and see if we've actually got a solid wire here all the way back. First one back, so the striped wire goes in the very back, and then the solid goes just in front of that, and then we've got all 8 wires down. So I'm going to get everything down here. I'll do the solid first because it's closer to me. Sometimes they don't stay in place. You have to hold it down with your fingernail and gently back and forth. And okay, that one's done. One more left. It's a striped brown wire. go. There it is. Almost done. That's it. Okay, we are fully in. Everything looks good. And that one there is number 5. Now I'm going to use this tool, which is my cable tester. There's 2 ends of the cable tester. One end here, one end at the other end of the cable. So because this is a jack, I have to use my little adapters. So I'm going to use my little adapter here, and we'll go ahead and put the this end in. And we'll go with this end, and it's on a patch panel, so I'll use it again, another adapter, and we'll see if it's working good. So we'll go over there. Okay. All right. You know, at the other end of the cable, we started our cable testing. I'm on patch panel number 5 in this patch panel, and I've got my tester here. The way this particular tester works is it tests 2 wires at the same time, and there's an LED display here that lets you know what's happening with the 2 wires. So if you can read it, the first one is wires 1 and 2, then 3 and 6, then 4 and 5, and then 7 and 8. If there was a problem or a reversal or a short, the LEDs would be displayed either green is good, red is a reversal, and if there's nothing on the LED, you have a short or an open or something. Something is wrong. But on all 8 wires or 4 pair of wires that we have, we've got a good connection from this patch panel all the way to the other termination. We're good all the way in between. So this is going to be a good wire. All I have to do is put in my small patch panel, patch cable from here to here, and label at the other end 005, close up my ceiling tiles, and now this customer has a new landline installed. Thank you. All right, now the last thing I want to demonstrate is actually taking a cable and terminating 2 plugs, because on the last video what I did was I terminated to jacks and you never got to see the plugs. So today we're going to actually take this bare wire, terminate to these RJ45 plugs, and then we'll go ahead and test the cable to make sure it's okay. So this is just a cut cable that I just simply, cut to length. You want to take it, cut in a little bit there, and then bring that back so you've got some wire to work with. I like to have a trash barrel nearby because there's always little scrap pieces involved with this. Then I'm going to go ahead and trim that. As best I can. I like to get that trimmed up really good. Let me just trim that a little bit better, making sure I don't damage my wires at all. And that there's pretty good. Alright, now I'll go ahead and just trim a little bit off here. Now, on the coloring standard, I'm going to go with the T568B standard. So working my wires from left to right, the first wire is going to be an orange striped wire. So I'm going to go ahead and uncurl the orange, and I'm going to keep the orange striped wire on my far left. Then I'm going to go with an orange solid. The next one is a green striped wire. So I'm going to uncoil this, the green wires, and take the orange striped wire and go next. Then it's going to be blue. So the green one actually gets split up on this plug. So then it's going to be blue solid. So it goes stripe solid, stripe solid, stripe solid throughout the the entire plug from left to right. Alright, so now that's, and then I'm straightening these out so that everything is super straight. Next is the blue striped, then it's the green solid. And again, everything is nice and straight, as straight as I can get it. Then the next one is going to be a brown striped, and then a brown solid. This is the exact wiring configuration right there. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to, while I'm pinching that down nice and flat, the exact configuration that I want, stripe solid, stripe solid, stripe solid, stripe solid. I'm going to hold that approximately that much distance away. I'm going to pinch that off while I'm holding that down so that everything is super tight. I'm going to hold my connector so that the tab is facing down just like in the picture, and I'm going to put this on and put pressure so that it's facing towards the plug while I'm pushing that in. Then I'm going to push that all the way in, and I'm going to verify through the plastic because it's clear plastic. Stripe solid, stripe solid, stripe solid, stripe solid. That looks good. Then I'm going to push the jacket, the yellow jacket, in a little bit because I want it to crimp actually on the yellow jacket, not just on the wires. This is an 8-pin connector, so I'm going to push and hold that in and crimp that down. And I'll do that a couple times. It only needs once, but I'll just do it twice. So that's the exact way to terminate one side. Alright, now I am going to punch that down, 8-pin connector. And now I'm going to go ahead and test that wire. Make sure that the wire is testing good. And let's see here, I'll do it this way so you can see the whole tool. Green, 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 and green. So they're showing all greens. So this is a good patch cable that can be used for Ethernet line. Thank you.